They say every courtroom's the same, right? The same dusty old wood, the same busted air conditioning, the same bored bailiffs and cranky judges. Well, I'll tell you, I've sat in a lot of them over the years, some as a teacher bringing students for civics, once as a best man for my buddy's custody hearing, but never, not once, as the guy in the defendant's chair with everyone looking at me like I just threw a pie in Lady Justice's face. Let me back up a sec, because, honestly, what happened in that courtroom, well, it rattled more than a few people, including me. It started with the gavel. Judge Brooks, hard-nosed, silver hair, eyes like granite, smacked that thing down and barked, "Sergeant Keene, you will stand for this court." And right then, you could feel the whole room holding its breath, waiting to see if the old soldier with the busted leg could pull off something even the judge wasn't sure he could do. My name's David Keene, by the way, 34, lost most of my right leg in Iraq, and, yeah, the left side doesn't exactly cooperate either. Sometimes the prosthetic works, sometimes it doesn't. Some mornings it's all I can do just to swing out of bed without cussing out the universe. Before all this, I was just a physics teacher. Same county, different life. I had a classroom full of wild kids, wrestling trophies collecting dust, and a desk drawer stuffed with old lesson plans. The Army was always in my blood. My dad was a Vietnam vet, but teaching was what gave me purpose. Then, after September 11th, I traded in the chalkboard for camo. I came back changed, lost a leg, picked up some scars you don't see, and somehow became the guy everyone called when the VA paperwork got too confusing or when a fellow vet needed someone who wouldn't judge them for falling apart on a Tuesday night. So there I was, downtown, stuck with a contempt charge for missing a couple of court dates over a stupid traffic ticket. The kicker? They kept sending notices for hearings I literally couldn't get to, 8 blocks from the nearest accessible bus stop, and my chair isn't exactly built for cross-country. You'd think a courthouse would get that, right? Nope. My requests to reschedule or appear by video went nowhere. Rules are rules, the clerk said, not my problem. The judge on my case, Elena Brooks, had this reputation, tough on everyone, but especially tough on anyone who even mentioned the military, maybe because she grew up in it herself. I heard rumors she was trying to prove something, to herself or to her old man, I don't know. But she wasn't one to budge. The courtroom was packed, too, veterans, reporters, maybe even a few nosy neighbors who just liked seeing someone else in trouble for a change. When my name got called, my lawyer, Marcus, good kid, just a few years out of law school, jumped up, started explaining the bus route, the inaccessible path, all that. I cut him off, mostly because I didn't want to be the case for some lawyer's big speech. I told the judge straight, I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm just asking for equal access to justice. You know what I mean? Not a handout, just a chance. She wasn't having it. She said, this court will not tolerate being lectured on the law by a defendant. I felt the room shifting, people in the gallery shaking their heads, an old guy with a Korean War cap looking like he wanted to stand up and say something. Instead, the judge tells me, defendant will rise to receive sentencing. My lawyer tries again, says I can't physically do it, and Judge Brooks just doubles down. You will stand, or you will be held in contempt again. So I try. God help me, I try. I brace my hands, grit my teeth, push up, feel my left leg trembling like it's about to give out. And for a second, I'm upright. Just for a second. But then comes that all-too-familiar jolt of pain, and, bam, I go down hard. The courtroom goes dead silent. Then people gasp. Marcus is at my side, telling me to stay down. But pride is a stubborn thing. I say, help me up. If the court wants me to stand, I'll stand. And then the weirdest, wildest thing happens. That old vet in the gallery, the one in the Korean War cap, he stands up, voice shaking, says, I'll stand for him. Suddenly, a woman in a postal uniform joins in, says her son served with guys like me. Then more. People start rising all over the room. Even the court clerk stands, then the bailiff, then the reporter, the stenographer. You ever see a whole room stand at once? It's like a wave. Even Judge Brooks is left just sitting there, speechless for once in her career. The doors open, and in walks Colonel Jennifer Ramirez, full dress uniform, Army JAG Corps. She announces she's there from the VA, flashes some federal document, and says she's observing because of complaints about the treatment of disabled veterans. Judge Brooks tries to brush her off, but the colonel doesn't budge. She lays out photos of me in Iraq, the hospital, my Purple Heart. Even that day, I pulled 2 guys from a burning Humvee. Suddenly, it's not just about a missed court date anymore. It's about dignity, about justice, about the whole damn system. The judge calls recess, drags Colonel Ramirez into her chambers, and, rumor has it, gets an earful about the difference between weakness and disability. When they come back, you can feel the shift. Judge Brooks looks at me, then at the room still standing, and, for the first time, apologizes. In my zeal to uphold the dignity of these proceedings, I failed to recognize that dignity works both ways. She throws out the contempt charge, orders accommodations, launches a review of courthouse accessibility, and, for good measure, addresses the whole room about changes coming. But I don't want special treatment. I say that, and I mean it. What I want, and what all veterans want, is just a fair shot, a little understanding. Sometimes that's the hardest thing for people to get. That day, the story doesn't just die in that room. Reporters catch me on the steps, and, next thing I know, my words are on the news. Emails pour in. Vets all over the country, law students, people with disabilities who've fought similar battles. A law firm wants me to sue. I say no thanks, but I agree to testify before a Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. The night before the hearing, Judge Brooks, now just Elena, not the gavel-wielding dragon, shows up at my door. She tells me about her dad, the stuff nobody saw, PTSD, refusal to ask for help, a lifetime spent pretending weakness didn't exist. She admits she was wrong, not just by the rules, but morally. She gives me a folder, her new courtroom accessibility guidelines, and thanks me for helping her see. In the Senate hearing, I ditch my prepared speech. I tell them about that day in court, about not being able to stand, about the people who stood for me. I tell them that's what dignity really looks like, not pity, not charity, but the right to be seen as a whole person. The committee room goes silent. Then, one by one, the senators stand. Reporters, staffers, everyone. It's not protest. It's a promise. You've probably seen the photo. The vet in the wheelchair, a room full of people standing for him. It becomes a thing, a symbol, a meme, whatever you want to call it. Laws get changed. Federal money goes into making courthouses accessible. Judge Brooks becomes a champion for disability rights, teaching other judges what she learned. I get offered a job advising the VA, help start a program for disabled vets to get to court or the doctor, whatever they need. A year later, back at that same courtroom, it's all different. Ramps, adjustable tables, even a lowered bench. There's an empty wheelchair by the judge's bench now. A reminder, Brooks says, that justice isn't about who can stand tallest. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones sitting down. I visit Arlington on Memorial Day, say a few words about honor and memory, then roll through the graves, stopping at my old CO's headstone. Frank Morales, that first guy who stood for me, finds me there. We walk together, no words needed. Just knowing that, in the end, we all stand for each other. Sometimes I get messages from new vets, kids still at Walter Reed, trying to figure out if they can go on. They ask how I did it, how I kept moving. I tell them, the hardest part isn't living with what you've lost. It's remembering what you still have to give. You don't have to stand for something. When you can't do it alone, someone will stand with you. That's not weakness. That's what makes us strong. So what do you think? Is justice about following rules or about seeing the person in front of you? Do we stand for each other or just for ourselves? I'd love to hear what you think about right and wrong, about who we choose to stand for, about what kind of country we want to be. Because I'm telling you, one person can make a wave, but it takes all of us to stand tall. You know what I mean?